It used to be, Greg, USC did not call the Big Ten. USC's not talking to the Big Ten. It used to be, Greg, there is no roadmap for Washington and Oregon to join the Big Ten. If they were going to be in the Big Ten, they would have already been in the Big Ten. It used to be, Greg is the fat guy who's making things up when it comes to Colorado being the spear, Colorado being the center of the stage. There's nothing going on. There's no Pac-12 school that would ever leave to the Big 12. Greg is the doctor of disinformation. That's what they used to say. You know what they're saying now? They're saying, it is so disrespectful. So disrespectful for Greg to be talking about meetings that haven't yet occurred, that are about to be occurred, about meetings that is trying to be cloaked. It's so disrespectful. Greg should not be talking about this. Greg should be like every other college football reporter out there and only talk about this story when it's all wrapped up in a nice bow tie. Well, we have said here for 3 years, we are not for everybody. Often imitated, but never duplicated. We are college football's peek around the corner. We are live. Welcome in everybody to College Football Speak Around the Corner with your host, Greg Pflugar. We cover everything in college football because we love everything in college football. And if you do as well, please subscribe to our channel. Smash the like button if you like our content. Share the video with your family and friends if you want to donate. Support this Rebel Outpost channel with a donation. Hit the $ where you make a comment, and I'll get to your super chat as quick as I possibly can. Welcome everybody into the studio that sits on the corner, the very corner of Keith Jackson Parkway and Kurt Gowdy Avenue. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to be a legend. With your comments in the chat room and with your phone calls later in the show. Preston from Greensboro, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your generosity. I do very much appreciate it. Mr. North Carolina Tar Heel, Preston from Greensboro, big super chat. Thank you so. Be disrespectful, Greg. Well, let me just say this. We have got Mireya Hernandez Garcia, Pflugar, the one who rules with an iron fist. We had a date night last night. We went out on a date last night. Mireya says, welcome to PATC. Now, she would never let me be disrespectful. Not that she quite understands all the cloak and daggers in the college football world, but I have to be respectful. I am not doing anything unethical. I'm sorry. Most of these universities are public universities. I am very cautious, very protective of sources. I go overboard to the point where a lot of people unsubscribe to me because they're frustrated, but then they come back because they found out that we gave them an accurate, true peek around the corner before anybody else. In fact, we are going to go back. We are going to go back in time because today, January 15th, 2025 feels a lot like May 10th, 2023. I'm going to play you a little bit of the live show we did on May 10th, 2023. 3 days after the hot bubble of action took place on May 7th in Chicago between the Big 12 and Colorado. When I could not give you the details that it was a meeting at that time, but if you were part of this channel, you saw I did an April 29th live show. I said, here comes the hot bubble of action. It's going to happen between now and May 17th. And of course, it happened on May 7th on a Sunday. Weeks later, we gave you the reasons why it couldn't happen on a May 6th on a Saturday, why it couldn't happen on April 30th. We had so many details to that story, but we could not break it open with details until Pete Thamel broke it open a couple weeks later after the live show that I'm about to present to you again on May 10th, 2023. Today feels like the same situation. A different story. A different beast. But something happened. There was a meeting. And back in 2023, I was not allowed to say it was a meeting. All I could say was a hot bubble of action. But then on May 10th, and then now, but this time a meeting did take place. It did not take place in Chicago. It took place in the state of North Carolina. ACC. Now, I'm not breaking any big news when I say this. This is quite obvious. It's an anxiety-ridden ACC. Anxiety-ridden ACC. I use the word ridden. The definition, the part of the definition I'm using is oppressed. Anxiety is oppressing the ACC. Just as much as the grant of rights going out to 2036. Just as much as the distrust inside the ACC. Remember, Florida State got sued technically before they could sue the ACC. Many of the schools, except for North Carolina and Clemson, gave the go-ahead vote on the ACC suing the Florida State. We've got schools that are ready to go. They want to do private equity. We're going to get into we're going to get into all of that. We did not go back in the Holy Smokes Theater today. As you can tell by our title screen, we did not go back into the theater today. I felt like we did not. We do have an update. We have a general update and an update with some detail, but I did not think it rise to the level of going back into the theater. But I will say a meeting did happen. And we do know something more about what happened, of course, before the meeting happened. All we knew was about the ESPN and ACC media rights, and some people representing ACC schools were gathering around Charlotte, North Carolina, and maybe some were going to do it by Zoom, and we did episode 52 or 53 of the whole of Early P Cloak and Dagger, describing the cloaking mechanism, the cloaking device of the American Football Coaches Conference Convention that was going on in Charlotte, North Carolina on a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. But we've learned some other stuff. And I said in the description box below this video, real politics is being played inside the ACC. There are deals being passed around. They're looking for the great compromise. And they've been doing this for months. But we're going to be able to give you just a little bit more detail today. And one more thing before I go on. We've got a stacked show today. Stacked show. Bill G, thank you so much for the 5 gifted memberships. Holy smokes. Eddie Williams, Mick Stevens, Buckshot Kid, Devil Frog, and CW2. You all are hereby knighted officially. Cloak and Dagger. Eddie, Mick, Buckshot Kid, Devil, and CW2. When you have an opportunity, you can go into our YouTube channel, watch Early Peak Cloak and Dagger episodes for members only. You can go and watch those episodes. Please say thank you to Bill G for his generosity. Thank you once again, Bill G, for gifting out memberships to the PATC family. It is very much appreciated. Thank you so very much, sir. I will say this. The meeting did occur, and what is going on right now, we're going to get to it. What is going on right now is there are Different schools are pressing different interests. There are different factions that are being created inside the ACC, depending on the issue, which is normal. But some of these factions are going to seem quite odd to you. And we've got some information on that as well. There is real politics going on. And I am not worried about, like, when it is reported on, when we finally get some clarity on the ESPN ACC media deal, the reports that do eventually come out are going to describe what we are going to describe to you today. There's going to be a lot more clarity, great reporting that's going to be going on. All we can do is give you the peak. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the ACC. And before I go any further, this is so very important. I am not against the ACC. No way, no how. I wasn't anti-Pac-12. When I've been tough on the Big 12, it doesn't mean I'm anti-Big 12. When I'm tough on the Big 10, when I'm against what they're trying to do with the qualifiers, when I call out Tony Petitti, I'm not against the Big 10. The Big 10 corporate office, they know who I am. They do not like me. But I am not against the Big 10. I'm not against the SEC, even though I've been tough on them this year. Or I said I don't think they dominated college football. I'm not anti-SEC. I am not anti-ACC. I'm just giving you the story, the chatter behind the curtain, the peak. I can't give you everything because I don't know everything. Stuff is going on right now. But a meeting did occur. And again, I started the show out by saying the people who used to say, Greg, the things you're saying are not true, they're not saying that anymore. They're not saying that anymore. The guy from Wharton College, the smiley face, the message boards, they're not saying it. They're not saying, Greg, it didn't occur. Now they're saying, Greg, you should not be talking about it. You should be talking about this stuff. You should not have told us that USC called the Big Ten. You should have told us that Washington and Oregon were going to get in the Big Ten. You should not have told us that Colorado was standing at the center of the stage, and you should not be telling us that the ACC had a meeting because they're absolutely filled with anxiety. You should not be putting a negative comment. There's meetings going on all the time. Of course there is. This is one of a series of meetings that are going on in the ACC. Because they're trying to get their bleep together. They've got to get it together. I almost titled this show, I came this close because it was the exact words that a money perch in the ACC. His exact words were, there is insurmountable sadness in the ACC. And I came this close to titling this live show with that title. Insurmountable sadness. Those were that person's words. It's on an email that was given to me. And what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to pile on. I'm trying to give sunlight to it. Remember how tough I was when it came to the Pac-12 media negotiations? Remember I came on here live all the time and said, boy, They don't even have a media. They don't. Arizona State money purchase telling us, Arizona State President Michael Crow, they don't even have a comprehensive media package in front of them to vote yes or no. I kept saying that day after day, week after week. And of course, the people out there saying, well, Greg doesn't know what he's talking about. They're going to get a deal with Apple. It's going to be $35 million a year. They're going to be able to poach the Big 12, and I would have happily said any of that if it was true. I would have happily said any of that if it was accurate. I would have happily said any of that if there was any evidence of that, but there was none. Only bad news out of those meeting negotiations. Well, right now inside the ACC, there's a whole lot of sadness going on. And we're going to get to it. We are going to get to it. Okay, let me go through. Let's do a little roll call here. I know I've missed a bunch of people already. I do apologize. Ryan Willie, Greg, how did the Vikings do Monday night? The Evil Badger. The Evil Badger, thank you for your super chat, Ryan Willie. I do appreciate it so very much. Thank you. I wasn't going to avoid this subject, Evil Badger. Thank you so much for the super chat. I wasn't going to avoid this subject. The Vikings get crushed. The oldest NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL franchise to never win championship. Now, this is not completely accurate. The Minnesota Vikings did win the NFL championship in 1969. They defeated the Cleveland Browns. There was no Super Bowl at the time. So this is not an act, but it is accurate. It is accurate. Unfortunately, it is accurate when it comes to there is no franchise in sports. There is no franchise in sports that has won consistently. Look at the winning percentage of the Minnesota Vikings. Look how many games they have won over the decades. There's no franchise in sports today that has won as many games with the winning percentage that they have had. How many playoff berths? How many division titles? How many NFC champ? You know, the last 6 times the Vikings have been in the NFC championship game, 6 or 7, they've lost. Do you know how successful the Vikings have been, but yet have never won the Super Bowl? I mean, you can give me examples of the Buffalo Bills, but the Buffalo Bills have not consistently, every single decade, have won like the Vikings. Don't even bring up the Detroit Lions, who could possibly win the Super Bowl this year. I mean, they went through a 25-year stretch. They didn't win diddly squat. The Vikings cause more pain to a fan base, more than any other organization in the world. In fact, it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that. Clay Travis put out, I often don't agree with Clay Travis, but he put out a tweet saying, look at the state of Minnesota. It's the most cursed state in the union when it comes to the sport franchises. If you look at the Wild, the state of hockey, if you look at NBA, if you look at Major League Baseball, the Twins won the World Series in 87 and 91. If it wasn't for those 2 World Series championships, there'd be no men's World Championships in any sport franchise, in any of these franchises in the state of Minnesota. It is unbelievable. Okay, so Ryan Willie, I do appreciate you bringing that pain up. I do appreciate your super chat. Thank you so very much. We've got a lot to get to before we get to the anxiety-ridden ACC. And yes, the meeting did happen. And it's one of a series of meetings that is going on. And we're going to tell you we got a little bit more information. Not a huge amount, but a little bit more information. On what they're talking about. We've actually got something for you on that score. But before we get to that, Tom Allen, Penn State's defensive coordinator, going to become the new defensive coordinator of Clemson. And I know there's rumors out there about who's going to be the Penn State's new defensive coordinator. I do not have any smoke on that. None whatsoever. But I know there's some reports, some rumors out there. Penn State, Tom Allen, going to become the new defensive coordinator of Clemson. So, you've got defensive coordinator Tony White leaving Big Ten's Nebraska to become ACC Florida State's new defensive coordinator. You got Corey Heatherman, defensive coordinator of Big Ten Minnesota, now becoming the ACC Miami's new defensive coordinator. Now you've got Big Ten Penn State's Tom Allen becoming the new coordinator of ACC's Clemson. The Big Ten defensive coordinators are being rated by some of the big money programs in the ACC. And this is the reality of it. If somebody's willing to go over the top, over the market, somebody's willing to spend a whole bunch of money on something that they need, well, they're going to be successful in probably getting that coach or player. I mean, you got to pick and choose. There's no program out there that's going to win every battle in the transfer portal. Even if they've got a gigantic NIL bank vault. They're not going to win every battle for the coaches. They're not going to win every battle for the players. All these programs have an instinctive or they've got a money value on all their coaches and all their players. And if somebody's willing to go over the top, well, then you just got to regroup. So Penn State loses Tom Allen, who used to be the coach of Indiana. Penn State is getting the duo back. Eric Singleton, Katron Allen, the two great running backs, they're coming back for 2025. Holy smokes. And they're not the only Lions that are coming back for 2025. Dennis Sutton is coming back. The great defensive lineman, the Russian, whatever you want to call this dude, this Dennis Sutton, who had an incredible grade for 2024 regular season. And of course, you saw what he did in the playoffs. Dennis Sutton is coming back. Matthew Golden, Texas leading receiver, is going to enter his name in the NFL draft. He really came alive at the second half of the season in the playoffs. Matthew Golden entering his name in the playoffs. Isaiah Bond is leaving for the NFL draft. He's leaving early. Isaiah Bond, he's got a lot of juice. I think he's going to do very good in the combines. I think he's going to be drafted a lot higher. Look, Mel Kiper has him as the number 6 wide receiver. I would agree with that. I think his draft stock is higher than his production. Isaiah Bond, I think is going to be a good one. Former USC starting offensive lineman Emmanuel Pregnon has committed to Oregon. A 2-year starter at USC. Ranks the 11th best overall player to enter the portal this cycle, and the Ducks get him. The Ducks get him. Holy smokes. And the big, one of the big stories, Amari Evans, Penn State's is entering the transfer portal. He 21 catches. He came up in the quarterfinal game. He was electric. Amari Evans, I don't know. I haven't heard anything about where he is going. Patrick says he's being targeted by Baylor. I think his best years are ahead of him. Amari Evans in the portal. And of course, the big news, Quinn Ewers has declared for the NFL draft. So no, he's not going to go to a Big Ten school. He's not going to get paid $4 to $6 million NIL money. Quinn Ewers has entered the NFL draft. Very good college football career. Led the Longhorns to back-to-back Final Four appearances. Quinn Ewers, he's going to be drafted. I don't know what round. Not going to be the top couple, but he is going to be in the NFL, and he's going to make a lot of money. Congratulations to Quinn Ewers. And it's Arch Manning. It is Arch Manning era beginning next year. We also have the news. Ross Dellinger at the AFCA head coaches are proposing to move the transfer portal to a 10-day window in early January after bowl games. The spring window, except for graduate transfers. So they're going to... Here's more of the story. And it looks like it's going to go up for a vote, right? I mean, the coaches are pushing this, and now it looks like it's going to be voted on by all of FBS. A transfer window, between January 2nd and January 12th, with the elimination of no spring window. Okay? One window, 10 days. Now, if you are a team that is still in the playoffs, of course, your players will be able to go into the portal after the end of their playoff run. They'll have so many days after their playoff run where they can enter the portal. So those players will be taken care of as well. January 12th to January 2nd to January 12th. I'm seeing a lot of comments out there. I've had a lot of them sent to me. Greg. This is not going to stay in the courts. This is going to be voted down because it doesn't have a CBA and blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, it probably will be shot down by the courts. But until then, until college football gets their act together and either get a carve out by Congress or come to their senses and have a CBA, and until all that happens, until they get taken to the courts, and this has to change, until any of that stuff happens, you got to make rules. You got to make rules. And when you make a rule, you got to follow it. How about that? You got to follow it. There's so much out there. It's like, how dare anybody try to make a rule? Nobody should follow these rules because there is no CBA. That's also, for me, that's just, please try to cut that out. Honestly, rules have to be made. And of course, people are going to abide by this rule because, the players are going to go in the portal January 2nd to January 12th. And that's just the way it looks like that's how it's going to be until the courts shoot it down. Or if there's some sort of other carve out or a CBA agreement. But again, every time anybody makes a rule, all you see is, well, it ain't going to work. It ain't going to happen. It's going to be cut down, blah, 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 blah. God, it gets a little bit too much. I mean, College football has to have rules. And, if it gets shot down, it gets shot down. It probably will get shot down. Because, again, the players, the student athletes don't have a buy-in. This is their freedom of movement. Everybody understands the arguments. But for now, I happen to like this better than what we currently have. And where you have a portal that opens up December 20th, and then you have another transfer portal happening in April, and the roster management is impossible. And I happen to like this better. You may like what we've got right now better. Let me know in the chat room. But the argument of, well, no rules should be ever made because everything is going downhill, and I just kind of don't have time for that anymore. That's my point. Okay. Let me say thank you for people who have come into the chat room. We've got a lot more to get through today. John Dry, Daniel Gorby, Tumasta, Isaac Sicko. I'm sure I got that name wrong. Jose is in the house. AAR is in the house. Jerry Jones and Primetime Sanders. We got a story on that as well. Connecticut Fan is here. Still Austin. Chef Maul. Patrick Bear is in the house. Jared Jones. I'm anti-Desmond Howard. Okay. Richard L. Colorado Buffalo is in the house. Muggy Wow is here. Morris Simmons. Mr. Seminole is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. Immaculate Hawkeye is in the house. Jimmy Austin. Mr. Oregon Duck is here. 1939 National Champions is in the house. Thanks for coming on in. Stephen Clark. MBM. Oklahoma State Cowboy. Ryan Willie got the cooler riled up. Terry Kane. Frank Tarkenton. Again, Frank Tarkenton. A rookie in 1961. Ended his career in 1978. Is still the 14th all-time leader in passing yards. A player that started in the NFL in 1961, where you played 12 football games a season, where there was clutch and grab in the secondary, where basically it was passing. You could do anything you wanted to the receiver you were guarding until the ball was thrown in the air. Frank Tarkenton is still the 14th all-time leader in passing yards. One of the most unbelievable statistics you will ever see out there. Okay, thank you everybody for coming on in. Azon the Kid. I know I missed a bunch of people. Dante's Infernal is here. Larry the GM is here. We still got to make rules. They may not have a legal, but they might have. You still got to have rules. Still got to have rules. I mean, you got to make the rule. They're about to change the window, the transfer window. We can't have a 365-day transfer window because then we wouldn't have a sport. Everyone would lose interest. No one would buy tickets. No one would have eyeballs on the games. And the golden goose would no longer lay the golden egg. You got to have rules, everybody. I know that's a radical. Okay. I'm going to show you guys something here. So, before we get into the ACC, and the little bit of information, an update, and we're going to continue to update this story. But if you missed the start of our program today, Wednesday, January 15th, reminds me a lot of May 10th, 2023. May 10th, 2023. This was 3 days after the meeting Chicago between Colorado and the Big 12. And we talked about this hot bubble of action. We could not use the word meeting. We could not use the word Colorado. There's a lot of things we could not say, but we warned everybody starting April 29th that something was about to happen. This is our live show on May 10th. So this would have been a Tuesday, I believe. No. A Wednesday. 3 days after the meeting with Colorado and the Big 12. And I was still unable to say it was a meeting. But this is how I titled the show, Good News and Bad News for the Pac-12, after the hot bubble of action took place. So we knew that the meeting happened. We knew who was at the meeting. We knew the city. We knew the meeting took place. It was a 90-minute meeting between Yormark and Colorado. The good news was the Pac-12 was still standing, and then everything else was the bad news. This is how we described it back May 10th, 2023. And I got to tell you, I sat back, I looked at what was being said over the weekend, what was being said on a Monday, on Tuesday, that Saturday and Sunday. It definitely feels like, for me personally, the same feelings I had back in the spring of 2022. A little bit different. The story is different, but man, there's a lot of people who don't know what's going on. Honestly. A lot of people focused on stuff. There's reports out of Utah, out of ESPN, about Pac-12 has a deal done, or they have parts of it done, the linear part done, not the streaming part. There was a Dennis Dodd article that came out saying that ESPN is not going to be the primary rights holder of the Pac-12. And Dennis Dodd said, but they're going to keep talking, but it looks like the Pac-12, ESPN is not all that interested in being the primary holder of the rights. There was more articles coming out about claiming that certain people are doing a disinformation campaign. There was one person that came out and basically said, I run a newsletter and I'm professional, and the people behind the microphones on the YouTube channel, you can't really trust what they're saying. There was a lot of that stuff going on, but there wasn't hardly anybody. There was some people out there doing some incredible reporting. I just can't tell you who they are. I can't tell you who they are. I will. Look, the hot bubble of action, I still can't go into detail about it, because we're still dealing with the aftermath. But it will come out. It will come out in its full glory, and if it doesn't, a couple months from now, 3 months from now, I will put it out in its full glory. I'll protect everybody. I'll protect the sources. No question about it. But I'll put it out there. My goodness. So the Pac-12 is hanging by a thread. A single thread. May 10th, 2023. 3 days after the... Good news out of that hot bubble of action for the Pac-12. There is some good news. And then there's some bad news. And I cannot get into the detail of the hot bubble of action. I can't do it. Now you might say, Greg, you're not giving us any evidence that there was anything. I agree with you. I'm not giving you any evidence. I'm not giving you any evidence at this point. But just circle the calendar of a few days ago, a couple of days ago. Circle that right now. And that will be highlighted in the stories to come. So that was May 10th. A lot of frustration from the PATC family because I could not go into details. But the hot ball of action happened May 7th. And when Pete Thamel finally broke it open and said there's a meeting in Chicago, then I talked about it and a lot of else people talked about it. Same thing here. The only difference is I was able to call it a meeting. I was able not to say hot bubble. I said hot bubble of action, but there is a meeting that occurred. It happened. It happened between Saturday and Tuesday. The ACC. And the ACC's had a lot of meetings. This is one of many. But this wasn't, this was important. This one was, not everybody was in the meeting. We believe that everyone was involved in the meeting. We believe it is, as we've talked about it, the title of the show, Anxiety Ridden ACC. So this is one of, I'm sorry, did people get fooled by the video? If you go, in fact, if you go back and watch that May 10th, 2023 video, you go read the chat room. Just go read the chat because people were talking, like Tumasta, it was in there. I think Tumasta's here with us now. Tumasta says something like, yeah, Tumasta's in the house. Tumasta said in the chat room, something to the effect of that Altamore is going after Greg or something. They were all going after me because they had no clue what had just happened. Well, something big happened with the ACC in the last 4 or 5 days. So one of the subjects that were brought, this is basically the update that we have for today. There seems to be, and we are getting this from more than one source, some of it chatter behind the curtain, some of it from On the Money Perch, some of it from a different source, other than those two islands of information. There seems to be a concerted effort, I don't know if you wanted to call it a last-ditch effort, but an aggressive effort, a concerted effort to compromise with Florida State and Clemson. To be willing to give them what they want. But they get something in return. There is a very unique, well, maybe it's not unique, maybe it's my naivete, but there is we talked about how there are institutions in the Big 12 that are very pro-private equity, coming in at a school level, conference level. And there are ACC schools that are very comfortable with, maybe comfortable is not the word, but they believe the benefits of private equity to come in to the college athletic world. And it's going to come in, so we might as well be at the forefront of it when it does come in. And some ACC schools are dragging their feet. And of course, private equity, the larger ones that are looking at bigger proposals, they're dragging their feet on the ACC because of the ACC's instability. So there are institutions in the ACC, allegedly Syracuse, allegedly Pittsburgh, allegedly Wake Forest, who are allegedly in agreement with North Carolina, who are allegedly in agreement with Duke. And being pretty damn pro private equity. And so there is a concerted effort to compromise, to give Florida State and Clemson what they preferred, what they wanted from the beginning when it comes to viewership, a little bit more money here, a little bit more money there. But in return, the conference becomes whole once again, and in return, they can have the same options in front of them that the Big 12 has. Yes or no on private equity? Yes on this type of deal. No on this type of deal. Because right now the ACC doesn't even have the same options as the Big 12. But here is the dealio. It doesn't seem to be there yet. It doesn't seem that the deal is there yet. Which shouldn't be surprising since they talked about it here in the last 4 days or whatever. I don't know. I don't want to, within the last, from Saturday, I'm just going to say from Saturday to Tuesday. So there is a wanting to get the ACC whole again, but it hasn't happened yet. And it is such to a degree, the aggressiveness to this compromise, this great compromise that they're trying to get to, is being so aggressively deployed right now that they had a meeting between Saturday and Tuesday. Most basically using a cloaking device. In other words, there's a lot of people who don't know about it. There are people who know about it. So that is what they were talking about. Allegedly. And there is not going to be this. There's not going to be this, Greg, it did not happen. We're not going to hear that. Not on this story. It did happen. The question is, how many more meetings are they going to have between now and February 1st? Between now and the end of February, are they going to get a delay? What are they going to do? Of course, we do not know here at Peek Around the Corner. I do not have a crystal ball. Back to May. Hold on a second. Back to May 10th, 2023. All I could say at the time, I couldn't even say the word meeting, right? But it was a hot bubble of action. And I said over and over again on that May 10th live show that the Pac-12 took a shot to the solar plexus. And they were hanging by a thread. I cannot say that the ACC is hanging by a thread. We are not there yet. We are absolutely not there yet. But there is an aggressive push by a faction in the ACC to get this behind them, to get the Florida State Clemson question behind them by hook or by crook, hopefully by compromise. Because if they cannot succeed, if Clemson and Florida State are not even willing to take what they were wanting from the beginning of all this, if there is no resolution to this, then they will be left behind by not only the Big Ten and the SEC, but probably the Big 12 as well. Back to the title of the show, Anxiety-Ridden ACC. The Anxiety-Ridden ACC. The word ridden meaning oppressed. Anxiety is oppressing the ACC. What is going to be reported about all this? When is it going to get reported? I do not know. I'm guessing, this is just a guess on my part, being able to talk to some people with the chatter behind the curtain, I'm guessing it's going to come to the point where when there is some sort of resolution inside the ACC, then the reporting is going to happen on all this. The back and forth, trying to compromise with Florida State and Clemson, that's going to be a major part of the story. Clemson and Florida State being in the courts when there is another evolution of change going on in college sports. This next wave, this next evolution, where Florida State and Clemson are in the courts, is basically giving, I know this is going to sound crazy, but it's giving Florida State and Clemson more leverage than they had anticipated. Because at that time, when Florida State and Clemson went in the courts and sued the ACC, nobody had thought that private equity would come to this point where they're having meetings with all these schools, with commissioners, there's presentations, and the Big 12 has the advantage over the ACC. They haven't done anything yet. The Big 12 hasn't struck a deal yet because of a couple, the House versus NCAA and Brett Yormark trying to herd everybody together, and there's some other complications that are going on. I mean, okay, so, Mike Krzyzewski, the retired Hall of Fame basketball coach of the Duke Blue Devils, he's talking about a possible merger, that the ACC should look into it, a possible merger with the Big East. For basketball, I don't think that's going to happen. I poked and prodded on that, but it's just part and parcel of what people in the ACC are doing right now. Anxiety. We've got to lift the value of this conference. And a lot of them have come to a conclusion, boy, if the Big 12 strikes a private equity deal and we can't even get them to the table, we are done. We're not going to be able to compete. We're going to be number 4. The gap is going to grow between us and the Big 12. So there's compromise talk going on right now. Very strong compromise talk. The last 4 days is one part of the story. It's going to continue on, we believe, to February 1st. We'll see what the story is then. Krzyzewski, the legendary head coach of the Blue Devil basketball program. That's all I'll say. It wouldn't be the last name, Lewis. It would not be the last name that I will butcher. Before we get to your phone calls. Now this story as Coach K. There we go. Coach K. Before I go on to the next story, we get to your phone calls and comments. What happened in the last 4 days, we're going to continue on with this. Now, it's Wednesday. We were given the information on this compromise, a faction, people pushing for a compromise because they want to get to the private equity part of 2025. They want a resolution. We were told all this on Tuesday. We were told that there was confirmation that ACC representatives were talking to each other in Charlotte. We got confirmation on everything. This is Wednesday, early afternoon. Who knows? I might be doing another live show tonight, tomorrow, so keep your head on a swivel. Keep your head on a swivel. The story will keep going forward. Maybe even past February 1st. Probably. Most definitely. So, anyways, we'll get back to it. There was an article written here. Dion Sanders loves Colorado Buffaloes. Boulder, then sign your extension, Coach Prime. When Coach Prime needs leverage, he talks to Jerry Jones. When Jerry needs clicks, he calls Dion. Why ruin the perfect relationship by moving in together? Sean Keeler, Denver Post. Sorry, don't buy it. Deion Sanders and Jerry Jones are more effective business partners apart than they could ever be under one roof. When Coach Prime needs leverage, he talks to Jerry. When Jerry needs clicks, he calls Dion. Why ruin the perfect relationship by moving in together? To hear from Jerry Jones is truly delightful and intriguing, Sanders, Colorado Buffalo's popular second-year football coach, told ESPN's Adam Scheffler on Monday night. I love Jerry, and I believe in Jerry, but after you hang up and process it and think about it, it's intriguing. But I love Boulder and everything there is about our team, the coaches, our student body, and the community, Deion Sanders. So why haven't you signed the deal? Sean Keeler asked. Like any good negotiation, this one's going to be played out via surrogates in the national media until somebody blinks. Colorado has Fox Sports' Joe Klatt, a buff for life, who says an extension offer's been on the table. Coach Prime has Stephen A. Smith in his corner. Buffalo's athletic director Rich George doesn't need a mediator so much as a moderator. It's not that Colorado hasn't tried. Sanders took home an additional $150,000 this season for hitting the 6 victory threshold. Another $100,000 each for wins 7, 8, and 9, and $150,000 for the Alamo Bowl invite. $600,000 for on-field success. Last winter, George gave Coach Prime a $250,000 employee recognition bonus following a 4-8 season in 2023. That gift, which wasn't even a part of Sanders' contract, was justified for drawing TV eyeballs, putting butts in the seats, pulling in media coverage, and selling merch. And that TV eyeballs thing is important. If a college football Super League or Premier League is in the works, by 34 or 35, it will be a made-for-broadcast circuit crafted and designed to maximize ratings and revenue. The only way a 48-team or 50-team Premier League is taking Colorado is if either the Sanders is still coaching the team or the Buffs remain nationally relevant as a result of Coach Prime makeover. They've got to spend the better part of the next decade either in or around the college football playoff bracket. Given the general meh of the Big 12 and the Buffs' current trajectory, that last one isn't hard to picture. Colorado finally found its football sweet spot, the best of both worlds. A conference that guarantees the winner a seat at the college football playoffs table, and a fight card that doesn't have the single old money blue blood swinging a bigger stick. To put it another way, the Big 12 asks you to be better than Arizona State, Iowa State, BYU, Kansas State, Baylor, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, and Utah. The AFC West asks you to be better than Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Sean Payton, Patrick Holmes, Justin Herbert, Bo Nix. The NFC East asks you to be better than Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels. Oh, I don't doubt that Jerry's staring at his wits' end. America's had just about enough of America's team. Jones was loudly booed in his own building during the Texas-Ohio State Cotton Bowl matchup last week. Houston Texans fans invaded Jerry World for the Governor's Cup showdown in late November, which is a little like the Rockies fans taking over Dodger Stadium. Thanksgiving Day prices for the nosebleed seats on the secondary market, which usually hover in the $200 and $400 range, went for $50 to $80 in 2024. Holy smokes. Coach Prime's buyout dropped on January 1st from $10 million to $8 million at any point through New Year's Eve 2025. It slips to $5 million on New Year's Day 2026. For Jerry Jones, that's tip money. The internet has already worked out trades that would ship Dak Prescott to the Titans for the number 1 pick, which would then presumably be used by Dallas to take Shedeur Sanders, and away we go. Only in real life, it's not that simple. And I can give you 104 million reasons why. Per Sport Track, 104 million is Dak's dead cap hit for the Cowboys if you trade him. Or basically twice what the Broncos just weathered this past season after the Russell Wilson divorce. And that's assuming you can make a deal in the first place, because Prescott also reportedly has a no trade clause in his deal. Number 4 holds all the cards. And Jones is becoming a desperate man. But Prime shouldn't be. And finally in the article, you know what? The only way I would consider the NFL is to coach my sons. Sanders told Good Morning America recently. Not son, sons. I love Colorado. I love my Buffaloes. I love everything we're doing and building. I love Boulder, Colorado. So Sean Keeler, the Denver Post, asked the question, so why haven't you signed it? The Big 12 is begging for an overlord. If Coach Prime loves Buffalo, Colorado, Boco, everything that goes along with it, the Colorado Buffaloes, the Rocky Mountains, Big 12, coaching student athletes, he'll put a ring on it. Coach Prime will put a ring on it, but he hasn't done it as of yet. So let me know in the chat room or with your phone calls. Is Dion Sanders going to put a ring on it? Is he going to put the ring on the Colorado Buffalo? Is he going to stay for at least the next few years now that his sons are leaving? Let me know in the chat room, and I'm going to put up a poll question later on in the program. We are going to open up the phone lines. Again, you can talk about anything in college football. We are going to start hitting the Ohio State Notre Dame National Championship game. We're going to be starting to hit that tomorrow. We'll probably put our predictions in here pretty soon. It's January 15th. We're going to be doing a watch party January 20th. So please join us. Watch party January 20th here at College Football's Peak Around the Corner. National title game. The phone line is now open. 763-260-1333. 763-260-1333. Let me know anything you want to talk about in college football. Rick is on the line. The floor is yours. Thanks for calling, Rick. I appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you taking the call. Just a question regarding the ESPN contract. Isn't that coming up here in 2 weeks?
Well, depending on who you ask, yes. Depending on who you, I mean, if you are in agreement with the argument of Florida State and many others, you would say yes. ESPN has to make a decision here. If you ask other people, if you ask ESPN and the chatter behind the curtain, most of the college football reporters are saying basically nothing is big is going to happen. It's all going to, there might be a little change in the media agreement, and then things are going to keep going on as is. So it depends on who you ask.
And what were the 2 words that your source told you that you were considering titling the show as?
I can't say the word. Insurmountable sadness. You can say it better than I can.
Insurmountable sadness.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like an ESPN contract.
Yeah. You might be right. I cannot. I don't know that to be the case. I don't know that to be the case, but you might be right. I think the person who told us that was now that could be the product of all this. You could be right. I think the person who told us was more like, boy, we can't get on the same page. All of us are going in our own factions. And we're gonna potentially fall behind the Big 12 because we were just not united. There's just too much going. There's just too many different things going on here. I think that was more what he was saying, but you may be right. You may be right.
Okay, well let's see what other callers have to say. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So nobody could hear the caller on that, huh? Boy, that is interesting. We've never had that problem before. Let me close that down. Is that true? Okay, I reopen up the phone lines. We do have some problems here. I reopen up the phone lines. Let's see if that works.
Call from Immaculate.
Immaculate, I guess we're having some problems with the phone lines. I am not sure if people can hear you.
It sounds to me like it's coming through like a speaker in your room and then to your microphone that's picking up your voice. It's not coming like direct audio. I don't know how that works, but that's what it sounds to me.
Okay, what about...
It was like the same sound when you did your video.
Oh, really?
Yes, it was like that. So I think maybe whatever you did there.
Really? Can you hear Immaculate better now, people in the chat? Oh, well then we got a problem. We have got ours. No, people are saying no.
We can hear it, but you might just have to speak a little lower so that way they can turn up the volume to hear them. Because when I turn on the volume, I can hear myself talking. But yeah, it's like it's an echo from somewhere in the room. I'm talking right into my phone and trying to be a little more projecting to add sound for your audience.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's going on.
I am looking at
your speakers to your mic. So, do you have speakers there that's projecting the sound out to your room?
No, I got. I'm just checking into my phone.
Yeah, I thought that might have been a little strange because you have headphones on, so I wasn't quite sure why you'd be having open speakers, but that's exactly what it sounded like. It was like speakers to microphone.
Hold on one second here. Very interesting. Haven't had this problem before.
Yep, I haven't seen this happen on your show yet.
You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's kind of actually what threw me off when you turned on your video.
Really? So people could not hear my video? People couldn't hear my video?
Same effects.
Oh, man. Well, then there's something... That doesn't make
sense. When you did that might have kicked on a certain setting. I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense. Woo, boy.
Yeah, I don't know enough about it, but that was the call in sound and the video sound are very similar.
Well, I don't even have the I don't even have I don't even have
bad time to try to figure it out.
Yeah, I don't even have the window up. Like I don't even have the video up. Hold on a second here now. We got MBM is right. It sounds like he's on a speakerphone. Like I'm on a speakerphone or the caller's on a speakerphone.
I'm always on the speakerphone, so it's something different about the.
So the caller's coming in very lightly. Okay.
Yeah. Like to say, maybe I'm on your speakerphone, or if you have a speaker setting on your phone, it might be having me come through that. I'm not sure. But I am just for chat.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm calling in the exact same way that I always call.
Got it.
And that's on my cell phone, on basically on speaker. So nothing is different about my thing here. And this is and it sounded even worse for the previous caller. And that's also how it sounded when you turned on your video.
Okay. Well, I got my phone turned off, so that's not.
I don't know what you want to do. I don't know if you want to.
I don't think there's not much. I don't.
Down and figure it out.
I wouldn't
Or
know.
if you want to cut through it.
Just go through it. We'll gut through it. I will repeat what you're saying. That's the best I can do.
Okay.
I have no idea what it would be. I don't really monk around with the settings, obviously, because there's really no need to. Now I'm looking at my audio mixer, and I everything's just there is no there, and there's just
You
no.
might just have to reset your computer, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
But, all right, I'll be as quick as possible.
Yep.
Just breeze through these. I've said this previously on X, and I don't believe Dion is leaving. As that reporter said, him and Jerry are very close, have a very big history together. The story first came out about Raiders. I was like, this seems like an agent's push. And then his buddy comes out and adds to it. I think that's just meant to rise up the money. And there has been a report that came out earlier where there's now a new $10 million endowment for the head coach at Colorado and $2 million endowments for the coordinators. So I think it's worked. And now you see him starting to dial back the rhetoric, like, oh, I really like it. When he said that he would only do it for a place that has his sons, I don't even think that just means his two actual boys. I also think that means Hunter, because he says he's like another son to him now. So there's no way any school or any team is going to pull those kind of levers to make that happen. Sorry for him. Like, he's a good coach. He's a good coach with kids, though. I don't know if he's a good coach with professional players. I don't know if it would work or not. And to have to do all of that to get him, I'm not buying it at this time. Very interested in the ACC stuff. Like, I want to ask you, like, who are these factions? But I know you can't share. From the ones you said, it kind of sounds like the private schools might be in line.
Like I don't know all of it. Like I don't know all the factions. Like I think it's multiple, like, and I think they're overlapping each other, but I don't know. I mean, people are, you know what I'm saying? It's
probably not clean cut.
No,
it's be different.
Yeah, it's not clean cut.
Yeah, just some of the names you were listing. Like, yeah, it seems like it'd be easier for privates to get in line with this. Less hoops to jump through, easier choice to make. And funny enough, you see the Texas president going to SMU, it's probably because he sees in this situation it's going to be a lot easier to make those decisions at a private university. It's going to get very, very sketchy at a public school when you start to do private equity, which means selling off ownership of things that you own and control. So we'll see how that goes, man. I don't know. Last thing, I'm really interested in this ACC situation. That is very soon. I mean, that's what, February 1st, 2nd?
Yeah. Yep. February 1st.
That is right around the corner. We talked about this for so long in the past.
Yeah.
Have this be just a couple weeks away. It's kind of, wow, we're really there. We're there that the conversation about the autonomous conferences now are really going to be empowered, which, funny enough, going to be talking about that tonight with Bomber on his show. So if you're not doing a show, I'd love to kind of get you to pipe in and tell me where I'm wrong. But that's just, to me, that's so huge. If they got the empowerment from the NCAA before they could even sit down to figure out what they were going to agree on the House situation, then that likely means that they got full empowerment. The only thing that they had to give up was having like a major say in the NCAA basketball tournament. So we'll see how that goes. But that's, you got February with the ACC and ESPN, and then turn around right after that, you got April, when we're going to find out everything. And I mean everything. Like that, you might have to do a 10-hour show that day.
Yeah.
It's gonna be huge. So that's all I want. I actually wanted to call in to kind of help you out with the sound, and then
appreciate it.
Just that little bit there. So let you take a look at that. Maybe see if you get another caller, and that'll sound better. But good talking to you. Hope to see you tonight if possible.
You got it. Appreciate it. Thank you, sir. Great call. There's nothing. Okay. All right. So
Call from Movie Time Blues.
Movie Time Blues. Can you hold 1 second, please?
Sure.
So we got issues here. I don't know how it happened because you guys are not even, like, if I do a crowd cheering, you guys can't hear this, right? There is no crowd cheering. I can't play any music. What's going on? Yeah. So we're having more. Oh, the crowd cheer is fine? Oh, well, I'm not hearing it. We got issues. We've got issues. We have got issues. Holy smokes. Morris, can you guys hear the caller? Go ahead, Movie Time Blues.
Yeah, good afternoon. What I'm thinking is happening is that the ACC has been around since the early 1950s.
Yeah.
And, as we start reducing the major conferences, it's going to get much harder and harder to that's why I'm a little more skeptical about the ACC as opposed to the Pac-12, because all these programs want to remain in the top echelon. So, in order for a compromise to happen, they're going to have to have assurances that they'll remain within the top echelon. Otherwise, why would they give a fuller state give them a way out, and then months later they are not competing at the highest level, or the conferences becomes much less relevant.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to decide what it is that they actually can live with. So because there are so many programs, there are programs that have been playing with each other for a long, long time. Old rivalries, old traditions in that conference. And people who think, it's just about business.
Yep.
This is a much tougher nut to crack than what happened with the Pac-12.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So,
Good point.
yeah. So there may be trouble in that conference, but I don't see like it's gonna crack easily. No way. Remember back in 2012, there was similar anxiety about whether more teams after Maryland left. There were a lot of anxiety whether more teams would leave, and they decided to sign a granted rights. So and then you have Disney. Then you have to factor in Disney wants to keep the ACC for their winter programming for their other sports.
I believe so. Yes, they got the ACC network. Yeah, I agree. They want the content. They need the content.
So, maybe what I'm thinking is, Disney comes in, they make a deal. They don't get money, but they'll get something that will keep the rest of the programs satisfied, and there is no threat of leaving. Maybe two leave, and then the rest stay, and the ACC adds two more back.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And also Notre Dame, they want the ACC to survive because they get everything they want through their association with the ACC.
They sure do. Yep. Notre Dame would love the ACC to stay intact. I'm not sure they can. They don't have the control of the whole situation. I don't think any one entity does have control of the whole situation, which is leading to a lot of anxiety. Yeah, Notre Dame would love for everything to stay as is.
Of course, they're getting a lot. They're getting what they want right now, and they don't want to change.
Yep.
All right, that's all that I have for today.
What happened today?
No, that's all that I have for today.
Got it. I appreciate Movie Time Blue. Appreciate it, my man.
Sure. All right.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye.
I don't know what's going to happen next. Okay. All of my I don't see anything different. I don't see anything that I just don't see anything different than what I've had since the beginning. It's bothering me. It is absolutely bothering me why people can't hear the callers, or they could not hear the video that I put on. To me, it doesn't make any sense. I do not have. My settings are exactly the same. All of my volumes are exactly the same. I am going to turn that off. Yeah, I get that I'm coming in loud and clear. It's a Mac. I got a Mac. And it's in. I don't get it. I do not get it. But all the videos that I've ever done before, the volume has come through perfectly. Well, not maybe perfectly, but you guys could have heard it before. OBS, Mac. You think it's the Mac? I don't know. Anyways, hopefully, later on today, I'll turn everything off, boost everything back up. I don't think so. I do not think so. I'm going to try this one more time. I have played with every connection. Let's do this one more time here. No, I didn't want that. Well, that's too bad because so this started when I put the video on, huh? God, that doesn't make any sense. Why did it start when I put the video on? An old video. Yes, when I started the old video. God, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, we are going to, I'm going to take one more phone call. I have redone everything I possibly could do, except for turning everything off. 763-260-1333. Somebody give me a call and let's do a test here. Somebody do a call so we can do a test. Eva Badger is on the line.
1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hello, are you there? Okay, we got more and more problems, guys. Look, we're gonna shut this down. We are gonna shut this live show down. I do apologize for all the technical problems. The first 1 hour of this program, though, we put out some information. Go check it out if you're just coming on board. But this live show has gone pear-shaped. I do not know how to correct it. People cannot hear the callers. And, of course, the callers, this is a college caller driven show after the monologue. And I do not like this. I do not like this at all. This never happened before, so I got to figure it out. I got to do a lot of testing today because I can't have this happen. I cannot have this happen. We got to hear the phone calls. So I do appreciate the phone calls that no one could hear, the great chats, the comments in the chat room. I do appreciate the donations to help us keep the lights on. I will get this figured out. I do apologize. Until next time, from all of us at PATC, to all of you, please, you all take great care of each other. Thank you so very much.